you're into records these days, it's no secret that the colored vinyl LP has made a big resurgence in recent years, but it's not new by any means. In fact, colored records have been produced all the way back at the beginning of the 1900s, believe it or not. I don't have any of those, but I do have some really cool pressings from bands like Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and the Beatles on colored LPs from the 70s. We'll take a look at them on this episode, Talking About Records. My name is G.I. Sanders from NTX Vinyl, a small chain of independent shops in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you're not local but you are in the U.S., you can shop online at ntxvinyl.com and would love it if you'd subscribe to our channel here on YouTube and follow us across social media at NTX Vinyl on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's take a look at some really cool vintage colored vinyl LPs. Like I mentioned, most people these days are very aware that the colored record is a thing. Not only colored records, but splatters and smokes and splits and all kinds of different effects and variants. It's really cool to most people, and creates a lot of interest and creates some collectability because there's a lot of different variations of albums that come out these days. It's just a new part of the hobby in regards to the volume of the different colored variants and versions that come out. But as I mentioned, the colored vinyl LP is not new. It's been around for a very long time. There's no doubt that labels and artists are doubling down on it now and doing it much more. It's a much more common thing now. But going all the way back to when vinyl first started being pressed, not only 33 and a third albums, but even going back to 78s and certainly 7-inch singles, there's a lot of colored vinyl records out there, but they're just certainly not as common the further back in time you go. So most of the ones that I see today in the collections that I buy, or albums that I buy in general, are from the 70s, and that's what I've got here today is a number of LPs from my collection, which I've discovered over time or purchased outright from pretty much some of the most popular artists of that era. We're talking Beatles, Floyd, Zeppelin, Stones, that type of thing. And so I've got these in my collection. Most of these I have on black vinyl as well, and then I've got the color as kind of an extra piece. I don't know if I'll hang on to both for the long term, but I do love love having the different variations of a record. The first ones that I'll show you, I think, are probably the most common, and that would be the Beatles Blue and Red albums. These are, all of these records I'm going to show you are obviously available on black vinyl as well, but these two Beatles albums in particular, the red and blue versions, so this is the translucent red version, and then obviously the blue version is going to be on blue vinyl. These came out in 1973, which is just a few years after they were originally released, I believe. And again, not all that rare per se. I do love that these have the hype sticker on them still, which is why I kept these versions. I have bought and sold tons of versions of these colored vinyl records, and again, not particularly rare. I would put these alongside Elvis's Moody Blue. I didn't include that in here, but I probably should have, as really one of the more common records. So the Beatles Blue and Red, you probably see the colored versions, maybe not as much as the black vinyl versions, but you see them pretty frequently. And even in really clean condition, really great shape, they're going to sell for maybe $30, $40 at the high end. Like I've seen them for less than that even. So it really just depends. So nothing that's super rare and collectible and valuable, but very, very cool. I love to see them. I love it when I come across either of these albums and that moment when I pull it out to see if it's the colored version or not. Do the same thing with Elvis's Moody Blue. In case you didn't know, Elvis's Moody Blue, the very common version is the blue version, and the more rare version is black. It's one of the only instances where I can think of that's the case in regards to older records, right? But as far as the Beatles are concerned, like I said, these are ones that I see more frequently than most, certainly more frequently than a lot of these others that I have in this bin here. Another Beatles record. This is, I believe, a Holland pressing from 1978. As you can see, it's got the big special hype sticker on there. Disc in color. Let me see if I have the country right. It actually may be... it's hard to tell sometimes whether these are from Holland or Netherlands. This is made in France, actually. There you go. So a green translucent version of Abbey Road. Very, very cool. The blue and the red albums are kind of unique in that the ones I see the most are US pressings, whereas this is, like I said, a French pressing. And a lot of the ones I have here that I'm going to show you, not all of them are foreign pressings, which seemed to be the case in the early 70s. That the foreign labels were experimenting a little bit more with colored vinyl records. At least that's from afar, that's what it seems like. Because again, most of the ones I see, and that we'll look through here, are foreign, not all. But this is a good example of one. I love this one just because I think the green's beautiful, and that big hype sticker there is really cool. And it's actually on the jacket. They didn't put it on the shrink wrap on top. So I've seen several copies of this over the years, and it's always same place, same application, right on the actual jacket, which again makes it a pretty unique copy. How about the White Album? This is one, I believe 1978, and as you would expect, double LP, white vinyl, very, very cool. Not as common as the blue and red ones from my perspective, but not again, a super, super rare album. This one typically will sell for, in really good condition with the poster and with the postcards that come along with it, maybe $50, $75. That price might be outdated. I haven't checked in a while, but this is a nice clean copy, which is why I kept it and love the white vinyl. Really good pressing too. It sounds good. The other, I've got a second copy of this one. This one's a bit more unique. I remember when I got this, and it is obviously still on white vinyl, but it's got a little bit of discoloration in there, or I guess you would say splatter, if you will, in regards to those streaks. It's not very pronounced. It's very, very minimal. But I looked up when I got this several years ago, many years ago. I remember looking up to see if that was a thing, where there was a version that was white vinyl but with some splatter. And I ended up finding something interesting. For one, most people who logged their album or who went on to Discogs as a resource to find which record they have, even though it had a little discoloration, they still just considered it the white vinyl version. But there was actually a separate listing of someone who had a version, and they had photos up where it wasn't just minimal kind of color added in. There was a lot of color added in to this specific copy. And there was only one for sale, and it was super expensive. I want to say it was like $1,500 or something crazy. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got a super rare record because I've got one of the ones with color in it, in addition to just the white vinyl. So I researched further, and I've actually found an article, I want to say the article was referenced in one of the notes or the comments on that Discogs listing. So I went and read that. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And it was a pretty long article about how the way that happened is that at the end of the run, whenever this was pressed in 78, at least this particular pressing of it, I'm sure there were many, that the employees added in different colors to give it a little more effect. I don't know if that's true, but that's what this article was stating. And so the author was essentially saying that these versions are incredibly rare because they're the only ones that have the color added in, and there's not many like it. Well, it turns out the same guy who wrote the article was also the guy who listed it for like $1,500 on Discogs. So he essentially kind of supported his price by coming up with this article and linking to it, which I thought was really interesting. So it was disappointing at the time because I thought I came across something that was really rare. This was early in my like heavy collecting days, so I wasn't aware of the commonalities of something like that happening. But I remember thinking for a little bit that I had some super rare Beatles record, and what I really have is just a kind of a unique version of the White Album on white vinyl. I'm sure there's you know, Beatles collectors out there who would want to collect a version like this that's got a little different color in it, but in the end, it's just the same record. So was a little deflated, but also that's what you got to do. You just got to research and learn and kind of understand before you jump the gun and think you've got something crazy valuable. So that's the White Album. How about some Wings and Band on the Run? This is on purple vinyl, which is an interesting color choice. And I think this is another French or a Holland pressing. It's from 1973. A lot of times it'll have in the text around the label, it'll say the country, but it doesn't look like this one is. And I don't know if it's on the back or not either. So I'd have to look this one up to see if it's German or Holland or Netherlands or just a European pressing, but certainly cool nonetheless. This is one that I just came across, and I'll have to look it up and see where it comes from since it's not stated. But again, super surprising when I found this in the midst of another collection, thinking it's just a normal copy of Band on the Run, and I pull it out and it looks like that. So that's really, really cool. I will say a lot of times these foreign pressings, whether it's German, French, Spanish, European in general, the jackets feel a little bit different, so that's usually a tip-off. It's hard to explain. They're a little thinner. They sometimes have a little more gloss to them, and when you deal with a lot of records and you're used to feeling what, let's say, Band on the Run feels like as far as the normal US jacket and the cardboard, it's usually a tip-off. So when you're flipping through, or when I'm flipping through and I feel something that's a little unique, sometimes it can tip you off, sometimes you miss it. But as we get into a few of these others, I can show you examples of where it differs a little bit. So that's kind of a unique one. Next up, we've got Fleetwood Mac, self-titled limited edition colored vinyl right on the hype sticker here. This is, it's got another sticker on it from a previous record store as well. Let me see if this has a year on it. This is made in the UK, 1975 on white vinyl. This is a really, really clean copy too. I haven't ever seen many other Fleetwood Mac stuff on color vinyl. I don't know if there's like an early pressing of Rumors on color vinyl, or even as you get into Tusk and Tango in the Night and those types of albums. I'm not sure, but I have run across this one a couple times and finally kept a really nice clean copy of the debut record with you know, with Stevie and Lindsay, obviously. So that's a really cool one in the collection. How about some Grateful Dead? This is from the Mars Hotel. This is definitely one where I could feel the difference on the jacket right away. Again, thinner, glossier, and slicker. Those are kind of the telltale signs when you find something that's colored. This one is also on white vinyl and has a unique label. This is, I believe, a German or European pressing, 1974, but this might be a newer pressing, actually. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. You know what? I think this is actually 1989. I learned something. It's got 2 years on it. It's got 74. It's the original. It's got an 89. So that's kind of interesting to see a late 80s pressing of a Grateful Dead record. Maybe they did the whole series like this. Again, I'm not sure. But this is pressed and printed in Western Germany, 1974, and then also a copyright from 89. So I'll have to check that out. Love this record, though. Scarlet Begonias, Ship of Fools, China Doll, one of my favorite Dead tunes ever. So Mars Hotel, there you go, from the Dead. How about a couple from Pink Floyd? This is Wish You Were Here, of course. And this one's unique. It's on blue vinyl. Another interesting choice. Certainly matches the back pretty well. Let me see what year this guy's from. I'm pretty sure this is the 70s. 1975. Trying to see if there's a country designated. It doesn't look like there is. Holland on the back. That's right. We've got a manufactured by EMI Holland, 1977. So that's the unique thing about a lot of these, and this could be said about any record for that matter, is like the act of going through and figuring out what you have. It's different on every record. Some records it's going to be on the disc label. Some it's going to be on the small text around the label. Some it may be on the back of the jacket. It just differs per label, per country, per pressing. They always change it up. It's honestly one of the things that keeps the hobby interesting. Like if it was super formulated and and consistent across the board, and it was super easy to just know exactly based on what you have, the same place every time. Like, that'd maybe kind of be a little boring. It's part of the hunt and part of the challenge is to figure out like what year it is, what country it comes from, what pressing it is. Like, for me at least, those are some of the things that make the hobby exciting, you know. How about Dark Side of the Moon? This is, again, a very glossy jacket, and it's a gatefold. This is on white vinyl. It seems like they really liked white vinyl in the 70s because there's a lot of them. 1973, this is the blue triangle label. Harvest, not made in Holland. This is another Holland pressing, a really clean Holland pressing of Dark Side of the Moon, which is great. I've got a ton of pressings of Dark Side of the Moon, as a lot of people do, because obviously it's, you know, one of the most popular and greatest selling albums of all time, and in my opinion, one of the best albums of all time. But again, when you run across one of these older, you know, kind of vintage pressings on a unique color like this from another country, like, it's really hard for me to let go of ones like this. And they're not particularly like super valuable. Like, this isn't worth thousands of dollars. Like, you can find a copy of this. You go to Discogs, go to eBay, you can buy a copy of this. You might have to buy it from overseas. You know, or if you find one in the States, it'll run you a premium for sure, especially in really good condition. So again, for me, it's not necessarily about the monetary value. I just love the history of it and the collectability of it, and the fact that it dates back, whatever it may be, 40, 50 years. Like, that's really, really cool. And so I cherish some of these colored versions. All right. I've got a variety of Rolling Stones records. Most of these came from, well, two collections, maybe two or three collections. This is Satanic Magusties, and it is, as you guess, on white vinyl. This is on the Decca label, made in Holland. The year on here just says 1967, which is the original release. Let me see if there's a later year. There's not, but I'm pretty sure this is a early 70s, like a lot of these. And as you can see, this one's got a little coloring in it, which is unique. I think that's why I have both of these in here, because one of them is just flat white, which I think is, oh no, this one's got even more. Check that out. You see this pretty frequently on some of these. And again, I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't think they were trying to create a white with a blue swirl version. Like, that's what you would, that's what you buy in 2023. But it seems like, and you'll see it on a couple of these other pressings specific to the Stones, that there's a commonality that they've got a little bit of that swirl and color in them, which I think, again, is really unique. I don't know if it's the scenario, like I said, with the White Album, where the guy said it was the last ones and they were kind of experimenting, or if it was just like extra pieces of a different color were stuck in the tub where they pour the pellets in, and then you get a little differentiation in color. I'm not sure. Here's a copy of Beggar's Banquet. Again, this is, let me see, German, I believe. No, another Holland pressing. So very similar, but look at the color on this one. Very, very unique. And, you know, to me, that doesn't look purposeful. That looks like it came off the press and some extra pellets of, you know, purple or blue got added in to make this kind of swirl color, but really, really unique. So I always like seeing it when they've got a little bit of that, added color into it, just because, again, it makes you, there's no other, I mean, that's the cool thing about this hobby. Again, it's like, you may own this record, you may own this early 70s copy of Beggar's Banquet from Holland, but I guarantee you it doesn't look exactly like that. It's one of a kind. Like, that swirl effect is really, really unique. And I think that's what makes these interesting and collectible, regardless of value or rarity. You know, it's just, again, an artifact to me that when it comes out of the pressing plant, you're getting essentially one of one when it comes to an effect like that, which is hard to replicate. So how about Some Girls? This is a really cool one, and one that was unexpected. This is one where the jacket itself actually feels the same. It does have the colored vinyl sticker here. It says including an extra charge. And it is on orange vinyl, which I think is beautiful, and an interesting color choice for sure. Let me see if this guy's got the year or the country on here. This is another Holland pressing from 1978, I believe. And it does have the It does have the celebrities on the sleeve too, so that's kind of cool. So it's got the original sleeve before they ended up having to replace all those with the Stones faces. But yeah, just a beautiful, bright, opaque orange on Some Girls. Love this record. I like Miss You's a cool song. Beast of Burden's a standout. Pretty cool Stones record. Lies. So there you go. All right, next on the list. This is Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. Rolling Stones limited edition on colored vinyl. Love seeing the hype sticker. Definitely one of those thinner jackets, and this one's on blue. And this one as well. So another Holland pressing, made in Holland. Doesn't specify the year, which is not uncommon at all. I think it's from 1970. The Decca Record Company Limited London, printed in the Netherlands. And this one has got the blue, but then look at the again that similar type of swirl or whatever you want to call it of, in this case, kind of black is really, really interesting. So again, just unique pressings. I don't know if that was purposeful or not. My gut says it probably wasn't. If you know why that happened or why they did that, I'd love to know. I have never really researched it too much, but again, really cool. Early 70s Stones. Here's another one, same hype sticker, different color on Let It Bleed. Maybe my favorite Stones record, I'm not sure. This one is on, again, Holland pressing. A little bit of a translucent red, which is really, really cool, and I think is a great match for the color of the album and the highlights. Really cool. I've never seen, I need to look into if they did a version of Exile on Main Street in color vinyl. I've never seen it if they have done it. I've never seen it if they have done it, but that's something I can research probably and figure it out. Exile came a little bit later, but I don't know if they kept the colored vinyl going in Holland for the Stones catalog or not. A couple more here. This is Neil Young's Harvest. Beautiful album. This one actually, the jacket feels very similar to US. It's got the same textured cardboard feel, which is unique to Harvest. And then this one's on kind of a cream or a gold vinyl, if you will. It does have a little bit of coloration on it, but hard to see. Mostly an opaque cream color. Let me see. This is, I believe, a Holland. Yep, Holland as well. So there's the theme here. A lot of these printed in the Netherlands, the UK, or Holland. This does come with the insert as well. So it's a standard pressing as far as what you get packaging wise and with the insert, but again, the uniqueness of the colored vinyl is really, really cool. And last but not least, as far as my collection goes, I think I've got some more behind me, but I couldn't find them. I dug pretty deep to find these. Got a copy of Led Zeppelin 4. This is still got the $15 price tag on there, so on road. I need to see if I can get that guy off there. Haven't taken the chance to do that yet, but limited edition color vinyl sticker. And I wasn't expecting to see like a pink purple vinyl on this one. This is made in the UK. And it's got the standard red and green Atlantic label. Let me see if there's a year on this guy. 71 it says. I don't know if that's exactly correct or not, but that's the only indicator it's giving me. So again, I need to do some research on some of these. Some of these I've just recently got in the last couple months. I haven't had a chance to really even log them or get them established as far as what year and country and all that. But they're certainly cool, and I'll tell you, there's nothing more fun when you're digging, whether it's in a record store or at a garage sale or, or buying a collection at a record store or coming across these unique foreign or colored pressings. Just really cool. I mean, I love colored records. I think it keeps excitement in the hobby, and it's a yet another way for an artist and a label to kind of express creativity. Going back to the 70s, like these, I don't know if that was the case then or if it was just the label doing what they wanted to do to sell a different version of a record. I mean, that's certainly a real thing as well. But it adds to the hobby. It adds, again, an element of surprise, certainly on these older ones. And even on newer pressings, when you get something that's a splatter or a split or whatever, you never really know exactly what it's going to look like until you take it out of the jacket, which is always really fun. And drop the needle on it. Hopefully it sounds okay too. There's certainly an argument around or a discussion around does black vinyl sound better than colored vinyl. I think that's all very subjective. At least that's my opinion. I've got plenty of colored vinyl records that sound fantastic. I've also got plenty of colored records that have issues. Same can be said for black vinyl, because black is a color. All that PVC starts out clear and black is added, or red or pink or blue or whatever it may be. A little bit of differentiation in regards to the chemistry there. Some people say that the black vinyl is a cleaner audio cut because of the way it adheres to the PVC. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I've talked to lots of people at pressing plants who have told me that these days, as far as new pressings are concerned, that it's all the same. But older stuff, it's up for debate there, because these will never be made again. So the way these were pressed, obviously 50 years ago, is completely unique to what pressing plants are doing these days. So, but I love collecting them. I love discovering them, and I love talking about them. So thanks for tuning in. If you've got any other older colored vinyl pressings that you have that are really unique, I'd love to hear what those are and maybe chase them down myself. I know there is a Pink Floyd Animals. I want to say it's French. I could be wrong, but it's a Pink Floyd Animals on pink vinyl, and I've always wanted that one. It's either French or German, I think. I've just never been able to pull the trigger on it, because it is a pretty pricey one, definitely here in the U.S. But I'd love to chase down some other ones, especially of iconic albums like these. So thanks as always for watching. My name is G.I. Sanders, and we'll see you again next time on another episode of Talking About.